Can we go back in time? I miss the old sponsors of NASCAR. Remember DuPont, Winston, and how can I forget Kellogg's on Terry Labonte's number 5 car?
Kellogg's Corn Flakes presents 1996 NASCAR champion Terry Labonte.
You won't get that checkered flag unless you get off to a great start.
Like starting the day with the simple goodness of Kellogg's Corn Flakes.
Of course, a great finish doesn't hurt either.
Go with a winner, Kellogg's Corn Flakes.
Buckle up, because we're about to take a joyride back to the golden age of NASCAR sponsorships. Picture this, a bunch of million-dollar race cars zooming around a track at 200 miles per hour, plastered with logos of everything from chicken nuggets to batteries, and you'll start to see the humor. Honestly, it's like a high-speed infomercial where every product is screaming, "Buy me," or at least crash while thinking about me. At number 1, we have Winston, a tobacco company as the title sponsor for a sport where drivers need peak lung capacity to survive hours in a hot car with no AC. Makes perfect sense, right? Winston didn't just sponsor NASCAR, they were NASCAR. From 1971 to 2003, their logo wasn't just on every banner. It was practically tattooed onto the sport's identity. But as health warnings caught up with the industry, Winston's time came to an end. Ironic, considering their slogan could have been, "We help you quit racing." It's wild to think how much influence Winston had. Entire generations of fans referred to the top tier of NASCAR as the Winston Cup, and they probably had no idea they were shouting out a cigarette brand every time they said it. At number 2, we have DuPont. Jeff Gordon's rainbow-colored number 24 car was basically a moving art project. DuPont made everything from paint to Teflon, and that car was a rolling advertisement for their entire product line. Fans loved it, or hated it if they weren't Jeff Gordon fans, which was like half of NASCAR. Either way, DuPont wasn't just selling paint. They were selling Jeff Gordon's cool factor, which was as polarizing as pineapple on pizza. Love it or hate it, you couldn't look away. Fun fact, that rainbow car wasn't just flashy, it was also fast. Gordon's dominance in the 1990s meant DuPont got an insane amount of screen time, making it one of the most recognizable sponsors in racing history. At number 3, we have Kellogg's. If you've ever wanted to see a giant rooster flying down the backstretch, Terry Labonte's number 5 car had you covered. Nothing screams serious athlete quite like cornflakes. But hey, it worked. Kellogg's somehow made breakfast cereal seem like the fuel of champions, even though we all know race car drivers are probably chugging protein shakes and energy drinks, not munching on a bowl of Frosted Flakes in the pit lane. Still, Kellogg's knew how to make an impact, even if Tony the Tiger was just there for the ride. Labonte's steady, consistent style on the track perfectly matched the reliable, no-frills breakfast brand. At number 4, we have Interstate Batteries. Their green and red car, driven by Bobby Labonte, no relation to Tony the Tiger, I think, was an eye-catcher. Batteries might not sound exciting, but they're the unsung heroes of every vehicle, race cars included. Plus, who doesn't love the irony of a car that runs on gas being sponsored by something designed to work when the engine it doesn't? It's like they were saying, when the wheels stop turning, we've got you covered. Interstate didn't just slap their name on the car, they made it part of their identity. To this day, fans still associate Bobby Labonte's championship run with those bold green and red stripes. At number 5, we have McDonald's. Yes, McDonald's. The same place that brought you the Happy Meal also backed a car that could hit 200 miles per hour. The Golden Arches were everywhere in the 90s, including on the number 27 car. It's almost poetic. Fast food and fast cars. Though I'm not sure what would happen if the pit crew decided to swap out tires while munching on fries. Guys, the grease isn't for the axles. McDonald's presence in NASCAR wasn't just about promoting Big Macs. It was about reminding fans that nothing says post-race celebration quite like a drive-through run. At number 6, we have Miller Lite. Rusty Wallace's number 2 car was practically a billboard for cold ones. Beer and NASCAR go together like peanut butter and jelly, just maybe not for the drivers mid-race. Imagine cracking open a Miller Lite at 190 mph. Actually, don't imagine that. It's terrifying. But for fans in the stands, nothing was better than holding a Miller while cheering for Rusty as he tore up the track. It was marketing perfection. Miller Lite embraced the blue-collar ethos of NASCAR, making Wallace a hero to fans who appreciated fast cars and cold beers after work. At number 7, we have STP. You can't talk about NASCAR sponsors without mentioning STP, even though their heyday was a little earlier. Richard Petty made STP famous, but their legacy carried into the late 90s as a symbol of the sport's roots. If you didn't have an STP sticker on your toolbox, were you even a fan? No one really knew what STP stood for. Scientifically treated petroleum, by the way. But it didn't matter. It just looked cool. The bold red and blue design of their logo was a staple of racing culture. And even as their sponsorship waned, their influence remained. At number 8, we have Valvoline, the brand that convinced us all that motor oil was sexy. Mark Martin's number 6 car, in its iconic Valvoline Valvoline livery looked like it could double as a rocket ship. They weren't selling just oil, they were selling speed, durability, and the dream that maybe your old clunker could perform like Mark Martin's car if you just used their product. Spoiler alert, it couldn't, but the dream was nice. Valvoline's partnership with Martin became one of the most enduring images of the 1990s NASCAR scene. At number 9, we have Exide batteries. Jeff Burton's number 99 car, with its electric pink and black scheme, looked like it was designed by someone who thought the 80s were going to last forever. Exide may not have had the same staying power as some other sponsors, but for a while there, they were the go-to battery for anyone who wanted their car to start and look like a nightclub on wheels. Their bold designs and underdog vibe made them a favorite among fans who appreciated a good upset. And finally, at number 10, we have Budweiser. Long before they made frogs and What's Up commercials famous, Budweiser was a staple in NASCAR. Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s Budweiser-sponsored car was iconic. It wasn't just a car, it was a lifestyle. Fans didn't just buy Budweiser, they lived Budweiser. And honestly, seeing that red car zooming down the track was enough to make you want a cold one, even if it was 10 a.m. on a Sunday. Budweiser understood NASCAR's working-class roots, becoming a brand that symbolized the celebration of speed and skill. Looking back, it's wild to think about how these brands shaped the sport. They weren't just slapping their logos on cars, they were embedding themselves into the culture of NASCAR. Every crash, every victory, every checkered flag had their fingerprints all over it. And while some of these brands have faded from the sport, their legacy lives on in the memories of fans who still argue about whether Jeff Gordon was the greatest or just that guy with the DuPont car. So the next time you're at a flea market and you see an old NASCAR jacket covered in Winston, DuPont, Kellogg's, or Miller Lite patches, do yourself a favor and pick it up. Not only will you look cool, but you'll also be carrying a piece of history, a reminder of a time when race cars were as much about the brands they carried as the drivers behind the wheel. And who knows, maybe one day we'll see a new generation of sponsors that are just as weird, wonderful, and unforgettable as these. Until then, keep your eyes on the track and your snacks within arm's reach. After all, NASCAR is nothing without its fans or its sponsors